Genesis 2 verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. Two ingredients, dust and breath. Without the breath, the dust stays on the ground. Without the dust, the breath has nothing to inhabit. And the moment I forget either half of that equation, I either think too much of myself or too little. The dust keeps me humble. The breath keeps me alive. Both are necessary to remember. God didn't make Adam from gold, a marble, a precious stone. Didn't pull material from heaven, didn't import some superior substance. Reached down and took dust from the ground he had just finished making. That's the building material of the most expensive creation in scripture. And God himself bent down to shape it with his own hands, then breathed his own breath in the nostrils that were lungs of clay. The combination of dust and breath made me a living soul. Either one without the other, and I'm not a person, I'm an incomplete project. I forget the dust when I start believing my own press release. When the platform grows and the recognition compounds and I lose the perspective that every gift I'm operating in came on loan from the hand that breathed me. And every breath I'm taking right now belongs to the one who issued it. I am dust on credit, dust with breath, but dust nonetheless, and the breath gets withdrawn the day God says we're done here. Forgetting the dust is the original sin in every generation. You start thinking you built yourself and you can't even build your next breath. Dust in his hand, that's the material I'm made of. Dust in his hand, the breath I'm using isn't mine to keep. Two ingredients made me a soul, and I borrowed both of them. The dust came from the ground, the breath came from the throne. Dust in his hand. Humility isn't a virtue I'm cultivating. Humility is the only accurate self-assessment available. Dust in his hand, and that's not a downgrade, that's a foundation. The man who remembers the dust handles the breath responsibly. Psalm 21:03 says it plainer than any sermon could ever say it. For he knoweth our frame, he remembereth that we are dust. That's not God being condescending, that's God being honest. The maker doesn't forget the material of his own making, and his tenderness toward us is because of, not in spite of our composition. Dust is fragile, dust is temporary, dust is dependent, and God's mercy is specifically designed for that condition. A merciless God in a dust-based species would be a poor design. I wanna be a man who remembers his composition every morning. Doesn't need a humiliation to recover the dust perspective. Doesn't need a loss to recall the borrowed breath situation. The kind of man whose default is the right self-assessment. Not because I'm performing humility for the room, because humility is the only true thing I can say about myself. The achievement, the reputation, the platform, those are weather. The dust is the climate, the breath is alone, it's permanent true. Dust in his hand, that's the material I'm made of. Dust in his hand, the breath I'm using isn't mine to keep. Two ingredients made me a soul, and I borrow both of them. The dust came from the ground, the breath came from the throne. Dust in his hand. Humility isn't a virtue I'm cultivating. Humility is the only accurate self-assessment available. Dust in his hand, and that's not a downgrade, that's a foundation. The man who remembers the dust handles the breath responsibly. On Ash Wednesday in some traditions, the priest says, remember thou art dust, and to dust thou shalt return. That's not a curse, that's a calibration. The man who remembers he's dust doesn't take himself too seriously, doesn't argue too long, doesn't hold grudges that don't fit his lifespan, doesn't build kingdoms made of materials his breath can't sustain. The dust is the freedom. Once you remember what you're made of, the pressure to be a God finally lifts, and you can finally enjoy being a man. There's a quiet rest available to the man who knows his composition. A peace that arrives when you stop trying to outrun your own makeup. Yes, I'm dusting, yes, I have breath that doesn't belong to me. And in the space between those two facts is the actual life I'm giving. Not too high, not too low, not falsely impressed with myself, not falsely diminished into something less than image-bearing dust. Just dust for breath, walking through a borrowed lifespan with awareness of where I came from, what I'm made of, and where I'm headed back to. That's the material I'm made of. Dust in his hand, the breath I'm using isn't mine to keep. Two ingredients made me a soul, and I borrowed both of them. The dust came from the ground, the breath came from the throne. Dust in his hand. Humility isn't a virtue I'm cultivating. Humility is the only accurate self-assessment available. Genesis 2, the last verse of the chapter. and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. That's the original condition before the fall. Visible, vulnerable, unflinching in the presence of each other and God. Then they ate the fruit and immediately reached for fig leaves. The shame wasn't the nakedness. The nakedness was the original. The shame was the new arrival. And every covering since has been some version of those fig leaves. Performance, image, pretense. The gospel is the slow undoing of the fig leaf. Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed before they had a problem. Walk with God in the cool of the day. Conversation in the open. No performance, no production, no version of themselves for review. Then the fruit hit the system and the first thing they did was clothe. Not because their bodies changed, because their eyes did. They saw themselves through the new lens of comparison and judgment, and reached for fig leaves to cover what God had called good. That's the inheritance, the instinct to hide what was made to be seen. I've been covering myself since I learned what covering meant. Now physically, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, hiding the parts I was sure would get me rejected or judged. Performing a version of me that the room will receive without questions. And the fig leaves multiply, different leaves for different rooms. Career fig leaves, relationship fig leaves, church fig leaves. A different costume for every audience, and exhaustion underneath the wardrobe. The gospel showed up to undo the leaves I've been sowing my whole life. Naked and unashamed, that's the pre-fall condition. Naked and unashamed, the original design before the leaves. Walking with God in the cool of the day. Nothing hidden, nothing performed, just a man and his maker. The conversation open and free. Naked and unashamed, Christ is undoing my fig leaves, restoring me to a man who could be seen without flinching. That's the destination, back to the garden, slowly, one leaf at a time. The cross was the answer to the fig leaf, that's the part that hits me. God made Adam and Eve coats of skins after they fell, which means an animal died to cover them. The first sacrifice in scripture, pointing forward to the one whose death would actually undo the covering. Where fig leaves try to hide, the blood of Christ heals what wasn't supposed to need hiding. That's the difference between religious covering and gospel exposure. Religion gives you better leaves grace, gives you the original skin back, and the original skin is unashamed in the presence of holiness. I'm in a slow work of pre-fall, restoration of my own life, bringing the hidden parts into the light with people who can hold them, letting the brothers see the actual man, not the curated highlight. And the parts I was sure would get me rejected get met with grace instead. The fig leaves I was sowing for the church didn't make me more sanctified, it made me more isolated, performing instead of fellowshipping. The undoing of the leaves is the actual sanctification process. Real holiness is naked, real holiness is unashamed, real holiness is seen. Naked and unashamed, that's the pre-fall condition. Naked and unashamed, the original design before the leaves. Walking with God in the cool of the day. Nothing hidden, nothing performed, just a man and his maker. The conversation open and free. Naked and unashamed, Christ is undoing my fig leaves, restoring me to a man who could be seen without flinching. Unashamed, that's the destination, back to the garden, slowly, one leaf at a time. Hebrews 4 says all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. That sentence used to scare me, now it sets me free. He sees everything anyway, the fig leaves don't fool the maker, so I might as well drop them in his presence and discover that what he sees doesn't shame me, it loves me. The exposure I feared was the restoration I needed. The scene was the saving. There's a kind of intimacy with God only available without fig leaves, a kind of presence the performance has never been able to access. And every leaf I drop is a meter of intimacy I regain, not because God responds differently to a more exposed man, because the more exposed man is finally available to receive what God always offered. The veil between us wasn't on his side, he tore that one. The veil between us was on mine, sown from leaves I picked in the garden. And the gospel and dice is on thread by thread, leaf by leaf, until the man under the costume is finally available to the one who made him. Naked and unashamed, that's the pre-fall condition. Naked and unashamed, the original design before the leaves. Walking with God in the cool of the day. Nothing hidden, nothing performed, just a man and his maker. The conversation open and free. Naked and unashamed, Christ is undoing my fig leaf. The angels told Lot, escape for your life. Don't look behind you. Don't stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountain lest you be consumed. And Lot's wife looked back. The text doesn't tell us why. Maybe nostalgia, maybe loss. Maybe she still wanted what was burning. She turned to a pillar of salt, preserved in a position of looking back. That's the warning underneath the warning. What you look back at can fossilize you. Lot's wife didn't disobey by walking back, she disobeyed by glancing. The body kept moving forward, the head turned to take one last picture. That's the version of disobedience that's hardest to confess, because it's not abandonment, it's just attachment to what God said leave. And the looking back was enough, the looking back was the verdict. She didn't have to physically return, the eyes did what the feet weren't doing, where the gaze goes. The heart already went, and her body got fixed in the posture of her divided loyalty. I've been close to that pillow more than once in my walk, body moving forward in obedience, while the head kept turning to the past. The relationship God told me to lead, the friend circle I outgrew, the lifestyle I knew was killing me, but I missed the familiar. And every look back was a wedge between me and what he was building for. What the forward only works if I commit to not measuring it against the burn. What he's bringing me to is incompatible with what he delivered me from. Stop comparing the woodenness to the Egypt, that's how you become salt. Pillar of salt, that's what looking back does. Pillar of salt, frozen in a position of divided loyalty. She didn't go back, she just glanced, that was enough. The gaze is the verdict, the eyes are the evidence. Pillar of salt, I'm walking forward without measurement, without comparing what he's calling me into what he called me out of. Pillar of salt, don't turn around, don't pause, don't survey. Eyes ahead, feet moving. That's the only safe direction. Yeah. There's something specific about what Lot's wife was leaving. Sodom was a city under judgment, designed for destruction, and she still found something that worth one more look. That's the warning that keeps me up. What could be so attractive about a place God himself was about to consume with fire, that a woman would risk her life for one last glance backward? The answer is comfort, familiarity, identity attached to a location. The known evil felt safer than the unknown deliverance. I have my own Sodoms in my history I refuse to glance at, not because they were good, but because they shape me, and shaping creates attachment. Even though it damage you, the brain wants to recognize the room itself, and it wants to convert the trauma into nostalgia by smoothing the edges. That's the trick the past plays. It sands itself down in the looking until the burning city starts to look like home, and the home God prepared starts to feel like exile. Pillar of salt, that's what looking back does. Pillar of salt, frozen in a position of divided loyalty. She didn't go back, she just glanced, that was enough. The gaze is the verdict, the eyes are the evidence. Pillar of salt, I'm walking forward without measurement, without comparing what he's calling me into what he called me out of. Pillar of salt, don't turn around, don't pause, don't survey. Eyes ahead, feet moving. That's the only safe direction. Jesus used Lot's wife as a teaching in the Gospel of Luke. Remember Lot's wife? That's the entire reference. Just remember her. He didn't elaborate because the warning is self-explanatory. Whoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. Whoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. The man who's still trying to preserve what God said leave will end up preserved in the wrong position. Move forward, don't look back. The salt is the cost of the glance. Forward is the only direction that costs you nothing in the end. Backward freezes you in the address you were sent to escape. The fire behind me isn't my concern, he's handling that. My only job is to pass in front of me, one obedient step at a time. And I refuse to let the version of me I used to be reach forward into my future and slow my pace through nostalgia. The version God's making is unfamiliar, that's how I know it's him. The version I'm leaving was familiar, that's how I know it's time. Pillar of salt, that's what looking back does. Pillar of salt, frozen in a position of divided loyalty. She didn't go back, she just glanced, that was enough. The gaze is the verdict, the eyes are the evidence. Pillar of salt, I'm walking forward without measurement, without comparing what he's calling me into what he called me out of. Pillar of salt, don't turn around, don't pause, don't survey. Eyes ahead, feet moving. That's the only safe direction. Whatever city is burning behind you, don't look back. The salt is the cost of the glance. Matthew 26, Gethsemane. Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. My soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, "Oh my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." The Son of God asked for the cup to pass. The Father said no, and the Son drank it anyway. That's the prayer that holds my whole faith together. Yeah. Jesus didn't go to the cross in motion, he numb. He went sweating blood. Asked the Father 3 times if there was another way through. And every time the answer came back, there isn't. Son, drink the cup, that's not weakness. That's the most honest prayer ever uttered. The Son of God admitted out loud he didn't want what was coming. Not as a failure of faith, it's the precondition of obedience. Real obedience requires real acknowledgement of what obedience costs. Pretending you don't want what God's asking you to lay down is performance. I've been on my own Gethsemane, not metaphorically, situationally. The seasons where the answer I needed was no, and I couldn't accept it. Where I prayed the same prayer 3 times, asking for the cup to move. And the Father loved me too much to remove the cup before I drank it. Because the cup was the assignment, and the assignment was a salvation of more than just me, of people whose names I didn't know yet. The cause was real, but the calling was bigger than my preference. And eventually I said the second sentence, not my will but yours. This cup won't pass. I asked 3 times for a different route. Cup won't pass. The Father said this is the only way through. Not around, not over, not under, through. And he didn't move it because the cup was the calling. Cup won't pass. And I'm not pretending I wanted it, but I'm drinking it because the one who bought it is faithful. Cup won't pass. Nevertheless, not my will but yours. That's the prayer that gets me up off the floor. Notice what Jesus didn't pray in Gethsemane. He didn't pray for understanding, didn't pray for clarity, didn't pray for the why, didn't pray for context. Just prayed for the cup to pass. And when it didn't, he prayed for alignment. Not my will but yours. That's the only sentence that gets you through Gethsemane. You don't have to understand the cup to drink it. You just have to trust the hand that poured it. And the hand that poured it has nail prints in it that prove the cost was shared. I wanna be a man whose prayer life includes the second sentence. Not just the first one where I ask for what I won't remove, but the second one where I align my will with what God is doing. Most of us pray the first sentence forever. Father, let this pass. And we stop short of the sentence that actually changes us. Nevertheless, not my will but yours. That's the costly part of the prayer, the part that requires actual trust in the goodness of the answer. Even when the answer is the answer we beg to avoid. I asked 3 times for a different route. Cup won't pass. The Father said this is the only way through. Not around, not over, not under, through. And he didn't move it because the cup was the calling. Cup won't pass. And I'm not pretending I wanted it, but I'm drinking it because the one who bought it is faithful. Cup won't pass. Nevertheless, not my will but yours. That's the prayer that gets me up off the floor. An angel from heaven came and strengthened it. That's Luke's detail, Matthew doesn't include it, Luke catches it. The Father didn't move the cup, but the Father sent reinforcement for the cup drinking. That's the pattern. He doesn't always remove the assignment. He often sends help inside the assignment. The angel didn't take Gethsemane away from Jesus. The angel helped him through it. The same provision is available to you inside the cup you've been begging to pass. The disciples slept through the Gethsemane, that should have been their training. Jesus came back 3 times asking, could you not watch for me 1 hour? The most important night of his life, and his closest friends couldn't stay awake. That's the loneliness inside the assignment. That's the part nobody chose. Most of the cup drinking happens at 3 in the morning while everybody sleeps. While the people who said they be with you were physically present and mentally absent, but the cup still has to be brought. And Jesus drank is why they slept, and his drinking it eventually woke them up to what he carried along. I asked 3 times for a different route. Cup won't pass. The Father said this is the only way through. Not around, not over, not under, through. And he didn't move it because the cup was the calling. Cup won't pass. And I'm not pretending I wanted it, but I'm drinking it because the one who poured it is faithful. Cup won't pass. Nevertheless, not my will but yours. 7, the end of the chapter. Stephen is being stoned for preaching the gospel. And the men who stoned him laid their coats at the feet of a young man named Saul. He wasn't throwing the stones, but he was watching them fly. Acts 8 verse 1 says, and Saul was consenting unto his death. Consenting, not throwing, consenting. There's a kind of guilt that comes from holding the coats while somebody else does the killing. Watching evil happen in your name and calling yourself uninvolved. Yeah. Saul wasn't holding the stone, he was holding the coats of the men who were. He didn't break Stephen's body, he just gave permission with his silence. And the text doesn't soften it. Saul was consenting to the death. You don't have to throw the stone to be guilty of the stoning. You just have to hold the coats, watch the action, stay quiet about it. That's the indictment that hits me in the middle of my comfortable Tuesday. The number of stoners I witnessed by holding the coats and saying nothing. The number of brothers I watched get torn down while I rationalize my silence. I've been Saul on more issues than I wanna type out loud. Held the coats of men whose actions I disagree with privately, but never publicly, because public cost something I wasn't willing to pay. Watch character assassinations in group chats without intervening. Watch colleagues get pushed out of rooms with knives I didn't draw, but could've stopped the meeting if I said something at the right moment. That's coat holding theology, the complicity that walks the moral middle, and the moral middle in scripture's closer to the wrong side than the right. The coat at the stoning, I've been a man holding it, watching the damage without throwing the stone, calling that innocence. The coat at the stoning, consent looks different than I thought. Sometimes silence is the loudest endorsement of the assault. The coat at the stoning, God doesn't grade on participation, he grades on the presence of conscience and the absence of intervention. The coat at the stoning, I'm putting the coats down. Either I'm in the room as a witness or I'm in the room as a coat rack. Notice what God did with Saul years later on the Damascus road. Knocked him off his horse, blinded him, asked the question, why are you persecuting me? Not them, me. The coats Saul hell got counted against him as if he thrown every stone. Because identification with the action is participation in the action. The Damascus road wasn't just about future Paul becoming a preacher. It was about confronting past Saul, about the coats he held in his youth, and the grace that named him in that confrontation was the grace that gave him back the chance to do it differently. I think about that scene a lot. The convicted man becoming the apostle, becoming the one writing about love after the years of consenting to violence. That's the redemption math. God runs, the coat holder becomes the protector. The one who silently watched the stoning becomes the one stone for the gospel. The same body that stood by while Stephen died eventually died preaching the same gospel. That's the coincidence, that's the grace of God turning Saul into Paul. Same fire redirected, same intensity repurposed, same man renamed. The coat at the stoning, I've been the man holding it, watching the damage without throwing a stone, calling that innocence. The coat at the stoning, consent looks different than I thought. Sometimes silence is the loudest endorsement of the assault. The coat at the stoning, God doesn't grade on participation, he grades on the presence of conscience and the absence of intervention. The coat at the stoning, I'm putting the coats down. Either I'm in the room as a witness or I'm in the room as a coat rack. Edmund Burke is quoted as saying, though the quote is disputed, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. The scripture said it first. He that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. James 4 verse 17. Sin is not always something you committed. Sin is sometimes something you witnessed and didn't address. The coat you held while somebody else did the damage get counted on your file. I'm asking the Holy Spirit to show me the coats I'm holding right now, the conversations I'm tolerating that need intervention, the character damage I'm watching that needs my voice in the room, the injustice I've gotten comfortable with because it's not my injustice, and I'm putting the coats down. That's the decision underneath this track. I'd rather risk the wrong stance than perfect, the silent witness. Better to speak and be wrong than to watch and be Saul. Holy Spirit, give me the courage of Stephen, not the silence of Saul. The coat at the stoning, I've been a man holding it. The coat at the stoning, without going to stone. Calling that innocence. The coat at the stoning. Consent looks different than I thought. Ruth was a foreigner, a widow, a woman with no inheritance and no name. She came to Bethlehem with her mother-in-law, Naomi. And the first thing she did was go work the gleaning field. That's the corners of the harvest. The leftover wheat, the law said, to leave for the poor and the foreigner. Ruth worked the corners with her head down, showed up early, stayed late. And Boaz noticed before she ever introduced herself. The hidden work was the audition, the corners with a resume. Ruth didn't apply for the position, she just showed up to the corners. Wasn't trying to meet Boaz, wasn't networking, wasn't strategizing. We're just trying to keep a mother-in-law fed in a foreign country. And the consistency of the work caught the eye of the owner of the field. Boaz asked his foreman, who is this woman? Where did she come from? And the foreman gave a report Boaz could verify. She came in this morning at the first light and hasn't sat down, he said briefly. That's the kind of testimony only the witness can deliver. I've been working corners that nobody was watching me work. Showing up early to assignments where no manager was tracking attendance. Doing excellent work in obscurity because the work itself was the assignment. Not the credit, not the promotion, not the notice, just the work. And eventually the kind of work you do in the corners gets reported. Even when you weren't trying to be noticed, the consistency starts speaking. The foreman comes back from the field with a report about you that you didn't write, but you wrote with your presence in the corners. The gleaning field, yeah, that's where the testimony forms. Head down, working corners, nobody clocking you yet. The gleaning field, with character outproduces credentials, and the consistency of the showing up becomes the actual resume. Boaz noticed before Ruth ever spoke. Sometimes the field reports your name before you do. I'm working corners now, trusting that the report eventually reaches the right ear. Yeah, notice the order of events in Ruth's story. This matters. Ruth didn't get recognized first and then go to work. Ruth went to work first and then got recognized. The field was the application, the recognition was the response. And too many believers want the order reversed. Want the platform before the practice, the title before the time in the field. But the field is where God forms the character that can carry the title. And the title placed on untrue rock, the ground will collapse the structure. Yeah, Bo said something to Ruth that hits me every time I read it. He said it has fully been shown me all that thou hast done. Not just the gleaning, all of it. The loyalty to Naomi, the leaving the Moab. The choice to follow a God you didn't grow up worshiping. All of it has been shown me. Ruth, the field telegraphs character. The God who sees in secret rewards. The field work openly eventually. But the field work has to come first in obscurity without an audience. That's the order, that's not negotiable. Gleaning field, yeah, that's where the testimony forms. Head down, working corners, nobody clocking you yet. With character outproduces credentials, and the consistency of the showing up becomes the actual resume. Boaz noticed before Ruth ever spoke. Sometimes the field reports your name before you do. I'm working corners now, trusting that the report eventually reaches the right ear. Ruth ended up in the lineage of King David. 4 generations later, Obed, Jesse, David. And David's line led to Jesus himself. The Moabite widow gleaning corners in Bethlehem became the great-grandmother of the king through whose line the Messiah came. The corners want a small assignment. The corners were the throne room in disguise. Don't despise the day of small beginnings. Zechariah 4 verse 10. What you call gleaning, God calls genealogy. I'm not despising the corners I'm working anymore. Not measuring my obedience to get somebody else's platform. Not asking why my season looks small while somebody else's look expansive. Because the corner work is the lineage work, and lineage is invisible. You don't see the great-grandchildren of your obedience from where you stand. You just see the day's wheat, tomorrow's wheat, the slow build of a faithful season. But the foreman is watching, the field is keeping the report, and the gleaning will eventually be told as testimony for the next 10 generations. That's where the testimony forms. Head down, working corners, nobody clocking you yet. Where character outproduces credentials, and the consistency of showing up becomes the actual resume. Boaz noticed before Ruth ever spoke. Sometimes the field reports your name before you do. I'm working corners now, trusting that the report eventually reaches the Proverbs right 27, verse 17. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Sharpening makes noise, that's the part we don't address. Sharpening makes sparks fly off both blades. The friction is the feature, not the malfunction. If your friends never push back, they're not iron, they're sponge, and sponge can't sharpen anything. I'd rather have one iron friend than 10 yes men in the rotation. Iron sharpens iron, that's not a quote, that's a process. Hard on hard, friction guaranteed, results not always weightless. My closest brothers call me out before the world ever calls me out. Hit me with the truth I was avoiding while I sat in my own meeting in doubt. Said the thing I needed to hear with the timing I wasn't ready for. Cost me my comfort but bought me a version of myself I couldn't reach before. That's the math of iron. Uncomfortable today, undefeated tomorrow. The blade I trust most is the brother who's never been afraid to draw. I don't trust a friend who agrees with everything I say. That's not loyalty, that's somebody managing me with delay. Loyalty looks like the man who interrupts me mid-rationalization. Says, brother, let's run that back, that ain't aligning with the conversation. We had last quarter when you told me what you actually believe. You moving away from your own word, and I'm not gonna let you lead us. Iron, that's the kind of relationship I'm building my life around. Yes men make weak swords, iron men make me sharp. The iron sharpens, that's the friction I welcome. Heart on heart, sparks flying, both blades getting better. Iron sharp, I need brothers who push back, not the men who match my volume, the men who match my standard. Iron sharp, sponge friends keep me dull. I'd rather take the cut from somebody who actually loves me. Iron sharp, and I'm grateful for the grind. The blade I am today was forged by men who told me the truth. Solomon wrote this proverb knowing what he was talking about. The wisest king in the Bible had 1,000 wives and 1,000,000 counselors. Knew the difference between an echo chamber and an iron chamber. Knew that wisdom doesn't form in isolation, it forms in collision. Two minds disagreeing in love produces a third option, even Saul alone. That's the gift of the iron friend, they bring perspectives I don't own. He refused to let me settle for the half-truth. I was running with the full picture, only emerges when somebody else gets to dispute it. I've been sharpened by men who corrected me publicly, men who pulled me aside privately when public would have humiliated me, men who timed the truth to my readiness without lying to me in the meantime, men whose track record gave them the credit to speak hard things. And every one of those friendships cost both of us comfort at some point. Every one of those friendships is still in the rotation because the cost paid out. You can tell iron from copper by what survives the heat. Copper melts, iron sharpens. Iron sharpens, that's the friction I welcome. Heart on heart, sparks flying, both blades getting better. The iron sharp, I need brothers who push back, not the men who match my volume, the men who match my standard. The iron sharp, sponge friends keep me dull. I'd rather take the cut from somebody who actually loves me. The iron sharp, and I'm grateful for the grind. The blade I am today was forged by men who told me the truth. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. That's Proverbs 27, verse 6. But the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Read that twice. A friend wounds, an enemy kisses. The truth told in love is the wound that actually heals. The flattery from somebody with an agenda is the kiss that actually kills. If you can't tell the difference, you're reading the wrong faces. The man cutting you is loving you. The man co-signing you might be eating you. I wanna be iron for somebody too. That's the other side of this. Wanna be the man whose love is sharp enough to actually serve a brother. Not the man who watches them drift while saying nothing because comfort. Not the man who waits until the funeral to wish he's going. Now iron is two sides, receiving and cutting off, and they both require the same trust in the friendship to do correctly. And I'm building toward being that man, the one whose word lands true, the one whose friendship costs something and his word lands sharp. That's the friction I welcome. Heart on heart, sparks flying, both blades getting better. The iron sharp, I need brothers who push back, not the men who match my volume, the men who match my standard. The iron sharp, sponge friends keep me dull. I'd rather take the cut from somebody who actually loves me. The iron sharp, and I'm grateful for the grind. The blade I am today was forged by men who told me the truth. Out of your circle, who's been iron for you this year? Who's told you the hard truth and kept showing up? Luke 19, Jericho. The crowd was thick around Jesus. A man named Zacchaeus, chief tax collector, very rich, also very short. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but couldn't because of the press of the crowd, so he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree. A grown man with status, climbing a tree in public. That's the part of the story I want to sit with. The willingness to look undignified to access what mattered. Most of us would have given up at the crowd. He climbed. And Jesus stopped specifically at his tree. Zacchaeus was chief tax collector, a man with money and zero respect. The kind of Jew working for Rome, collecting from his own neighbors. And he built a comfortable life on the wrong side of the people's heart. But something in him said, I have to see this Jesus, whatever it costs. And what it cost was his dignity in front of a crowd that hated him. A grown man with wealth, climbing a sycamore tree for a better view. Imagine the mockery of the people watching him scramble up the branches. The chief tax collector looking like a kid trying to peek over the fence. That's the part I keep returning to, the willingness to look ridiculous. Most men in this position would have hired servants to clear a path, would have used the money to buy his way to the front of the crowd, would have been too proud to climb a tree in public for any reason. But Zacchaeus had reached the point where appearance mattered less than access, and the door to his transformation was on the other side of his embarrassment. The man who refused to climb because climbing looks bad will never see what's worth the climbing. The sycamore tree. That's where Zacchaeus stopped caring how it looked. The sycamore tree. The crowd was thick, the climb was the only option. A grown man, head of his trade, scrambling up the branches in public because the access was worth more than the appearance. The sycamore tree. Jesus stopped specifically at that tree, called him by name like the climbing was the introduction. The sycamore tree. And I'm climbing too, whatever it costs my dignity to access what he's actually offering. Yeah. Jesus looked up and saw him, said, Zacchaeus, make haste, come down. For the day I must abide at your house. That line crushes me. The man whose tree he climbed wasn't just acknowledged, he was visited. Jesus didn't preach to him from the ground, didn't lecture him about ethics. Said, the day I'm coming to your house, disrupted the social order entirely. The chief tax collector, everybody despised, got the first invitation in Jericho because he climbed the tree when everybody else was watching the crowd. The position got rewarded, the desperate posture got the response. There's something about Jesus that's drawn to the desperate climb, drawn to the woman with the issue of blood pressing through the crowd, drawn to the four friends tearing the roof off to lower the paralytic, drawn to the blind man shouting, son of David, in the face of being silenced. Desperate access gets specific attention from the only one whose attention matters, and dignity preservation is the enemy of desperate access. And most of us, I'd rather climb the tree than stay polite at the back of the crowd. But light at the back of the crowd never gets visited at the house. The sycamore tree. That's when Zacchaeus stopped caring how it looked. The sycamore tree. The crowd was thick, the climb was the only option. The grown man, head of his trade, scrambling up the branches in public because the access was worth more than the appearance. The sycamore tree. Jesus stopped specifically at that tree, called him by name like the climbing was the introduction. Sycamore tree. And I'm climbing too, whatever it costs my dignity to access what he's actually offering. Notice what Zacchaeus did after Jesus came to his house. Stood up and said, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I've taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. That wasn't required, Jesus didn't demand it. The encounter produced the restitution. Real encounters with Jesus rearrange your finances voluntarily. You don't have to be told to make it right. The rightness becomes obvious in the presence. The climb produced the encounter. The encounter produced the restitution. I've been a man too proud to climb the tree in public, too concerned about how seeking would look to the people watching, too worried that desperate posture would damage the image I built, and the result was the polite distance from what I actually needed. I'm done with that, climbing the tree from now on. Don't care if the crowd laughs, don't care if my image takes a hit, don't care if everybody else stays at ground level pretending to be cool. I came to see Jesus and I climb whatever I have to climb to get the view. Sycamore tree. That's where Zacchaeus he'll stop caring. Now we look,
the sycamore tree.
the crowd was thick, the clown